Welcome back to the Talking Sports podcast right here on YouTube, Apple Podcast, and Spotify. Guys, we appreciate everyone that is either clicking, watching, or listening to this episode wherever you guys consume our content. And it is one of the best times of the year for JR and I guess for sports fans as well, as we have the NFL playoffs right on the horizon. We are recording this at Tuesday at 5:30. You guys will be seeing this Wednesday morning. So when we talk about injuries, when we talk about spreads, obviously things are subject to change. But before we get into that, we are always sponsored by Underdog Fantasy. Make sure you guys use promo code TSP. Link is in the description wherever you listen to this. UnderdogFantasy.com. It's the best daily fantasy or fantasy betting website out there or app, and it's the best time. It's the NFL playoffs. It's literally the best time, and we got the best players playing in the NFL playoffs right now. So guys, go over there. They'll match your deposit up to $100, minimum of 10. Jer, how we doing, man?
I'm doing good. And before we get into the video, also like to mention we are on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter at Talking Sports PD. Post a lot more content than just our videos. So follow us, stay tuned. We'll stay up to date with what we're posting, what we're talking about at Talking Sports PD, Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter.
Yeah, guys, and make sure you subscribe, like, and comment. As always, road to 5K. And Jared and I were talking off air. We can't really waste any time here. We have
a lot of games.
Yeah, because it's the Wildcard weekend. We have 6 games to give you our predictions to break down. And obviously, as we get throughout the playoffs, we'll also do this every week as we get on. Obviously, less games. So if your team makes it farther, we'll obviously give you guys more in-depth analysis. But let's get going here. Okay. 5-seed Browns, and we're going by the chronological order of when the games are being played. So 5-seed Browns taking on the 4-seed Texans on Tuesday night. The Browns are currently road favorites at -2.5. Jared, what do we like in this game, man?
Yeah, so my first takeaways is, do you trust Joe Flacco in a playoff game? I mean, he's been playing really well. I think he's 4-1 with the Browns, throwing over 300 yards per game. But see, the two things, I don't trust the Browns offense, but I also don't trust the Texans offense against this Browns defense. I feel like against a defense like this, where they're so good in multi-facets of the game, like the running game and the passing game. I mean, the Texans, great passing game. CJ Stroud blew up this year in his rookie year, been playing really well. But I just don't trust that Texans rushing game against this Browns D. You know, we were mentioning in the college football preview we did couple weeks ago, it's hard to win a game when you're only have one part of your offense playing, playing well, which is your offense, whether it's your passing game or your running game. So it kind of comes down to, do you think CJ Stroud can do really well in a big time moment in his rookie year against this phenomenal Browns D?
Yeah, I think this is a fascinating game, and I agree with mostly what you said. Like when I'm making my picks and when I'm listening to stuff right throughout the week, there's always a couple games that everybody's on when it comes to picking like the underdog. I know the Browns, or when they're or a road team, right? Like there's always a 5-4 matchup or a 6-3 matchup that you you kind of like. You think the 6 team has a shot, right? And I feel like the Browns are the hot team this week.
Yeah,
and they're taking a Houston team that, obviously, they had to beat the Colts, and they needed some help on Sunday to just win the division. So this is fascinating, right? Like, if you told me I would get a playoff matchup between CJ Stroud and Joe Flacco to start the year, I would have told you are clinically insane, which is why it's so fascinating and so fun at the same time. I do. I want to see the Browns have probably, if not maybe the best defense in the National Football League, one of the best defenses in football on that side. I want to see how a rookie quarterback kind of, one, faces the pressure of playing in a playoff game, and 2, you're facing a really good defense. And you always go into every matchup when you're looking at this and they're like, oh, there's one team that has more to lose. I don't think there's a single team that has anything to lose, because if you look on the Texans side, you lose, I get your home, rookie quarterback, CJ Stroud.
Rookie head coach, too.
Yeah, rookie head coach. It can go only up from there. On the other side of the Browns, you're like, your $1 million quarterback, Deshaun Watson's out for the year. You're on your like fourth or fifth quarterback, and it's Joe Flacco.
And you picked him up like
5 weeks ago.
Weeks left in the year.
Yeah. So like there's nothing to lose here, which is fascinating because obviously there's a lot to gain with winning a playoff game and getting into the divisional round. I think it's fascinating. I agree. Like, can Houston run the ball enough? Can they kind of control the clock? But same with Cleveland, like Cleveland's going to have to run the ball. I don't think Houston defense is pretty good. I like their offense. Their weapons with Houston is not great. I think missing Tank Dell is a huge loss, but Texans have found a way to win games even without Tank Dell last week against the Colts. That was a win and in situation for both teams. I think it's a fascinating game.
It's weird because like you said, there's no big time names on the Texans. They just outperformed what everyone expected. Like Nico Collins having a great year. And he'll be healthy. And then also like Noah Brown.
Yeah.
Like a guy like Noah Brown, you would never consider being a number 2 wide receiver for a playoff team, you know? So I think I'm not going to take Texans inexperience per se against them. Like people could say, oh, they're inexperienced. It's a playoff game. And those teams tend not to win because I don't know. I just don't think it's fair. I think, you know, they found a way to win this regular season with this inexperience. I'm just like, do you think Joe Flacco could potentially like lead this team in a big time moment when you have like a couple weeks, like a week to prepare? I guess
He has and he hasn't. I think his stats have been. I think his performance has definitely been overblown of how like well he's been performing. Because if you go back, like some of the games he's been up and down, but it's also because it's Joe Flacco and it's exciting and it's something that we never expected. To answer your question, I don't like,
especially with like you said, like they don't have Nick Chubb anymore. You know, their running game is not
Jerome Ford and
you know,
Kareem Hunt. Yeah,
look, that's a little adapting for them too.
David Njoku has come alive as probably the player that they thought they drafted a handful of years ago, and it's taken a while. And I know it's the Jets. We saw in the Jets game, he had one of his best games of his career, even with a fumble. I thought like they've used David Njoku, and then obviously they have Amari Cooper's back, and I believe he's healthy at this point. So you have Amari Cooper, you have David Njoku, you have 2 really good weapons, and you can somewhat run the ball with Jerome Ford and Kareem Hunt. I do trust this team. I think Joe Flacco is smart enough to make not turn the ball over and make enough plays. Do I think with a minute left he can go win you a game? Down 6, down 7? No. Will they have to in Houston? I don't know. Will they have to in the divisional round? Probably, right? Like I feel like that question, if they survive, they win over the weekend, Jared. I think next week you can ask me, or we can ask each other that question because of if they're playing a Kansas City, a Buffalo, a Baltimore, a team that Joe Flacco is going to have to make off script plays. Yeah. Like eventually your defense runs out when you're playing a great offense. I don't know if Houston's there yet, but
I also don't think Houston's the type of team that will collapse the pocket on Joe Flacco, and that's something you definitely need to do with a quarterback like Joe Flacco who is not mobile at all. You need to make him make uncomfortable throws, and he's made a couple. He's made a bunch with the Browns this year when he came in, but can that pass rush get to Joe Flacco? Or if you're letting him sit in the pocket all day, he's going to find a Njoku.
Yeah.
I mean, and Njoku's going to get open. Cooper's going to get open, even Elijah Moore. So they got to get that pass rush going. And that's something they got to really focus on to stop him.
Okay. With that being said, Jared, what do we got? Browns, Texans, who are you looking for this weekend?
Yeah, so I'm going to go with the Browns here. I think that defense is just going to cause too much chaos for CJ Stroud. And I just think they're gonna get to him in the pocket. Their secondary is good too. So I think the Browns defense is gonna be too much. So I'm gonna have to take Browns here.
I kind of flip flop back and forth because
this is like a flip flop type of game too.
Yeah, and I thought Browns. When I say whole week, it's Tuesday night. When I was looking at it this morning, I was like, oh, Browns. But then I was like, a lot of people on the Browns, which kind of scares me at some points. So I'm gonna go Houston. I'm gonna take the home team. I'm gonna take the dogs. Like if that spread gets to 3, I don't mind Houston +3 at that point. So I'm gonna take the dogs. I'm gonna go Houston. I think CJ Stroud makes enough plays, and maybe the Joe Flacco luck runs out.
I think if Houston does end up pulling this off, it's going to be a much more exciting and interesting game. But if Browns win, it's going to be kind of a boring defensive game,
Fair enough. Okay, moving on to Saturday night, the final one of two Saturday games we have. We got the 6 seed Miami Dolphins at the 3 seed Kansas City Chiefs on Tuesday night. The Chiefs are currently -4 in the spread. This game is supposed to be about 10 degrees. People are saying -15 wind chills. Like it's going to be an absolute ice bowl in the sense that it's going to be freezing. Joe, what are we looking for in this game, man?
Well, I mean, what you just said, I think this weather, this atmosphere definitely, I mean, obviously it's a home game, but it definitely favors the Chiefs. The Miami Dolphins coming into this cold weather, it's not what they were looking for. And these are two teams that such high hopes beginning of the year. Not saying they're bad or anything, just such high. The bar was set so high, especially for a team like Kansas City. And towards the end of the year, they kind of didn't play like what we thought they didn't reach the expectations that the viewers had. But I mean, the storyline we had in this game is Tyreek Hill versus former team the Chiefs. And for the Chiefs, they got to figure out the receivers. I think Rashee Rice has stepped up and he's played really well in his rookie year. So they need someone else besides Kelsey to step up. And I think that's definitely going to be Rashee Rice, but can he have a game like not like Tyreek Hill, but just a good wide receiving game and take the pressure off Travis Kelsey and maybe put up 80 yards, 80, 100 yards. Just another weapon for Patrick Mahomes. And then on the Dolphins side, hopefully Mostert, hopefully he plays. Waddle.
Yeah.
But they got to get those big time plays. I think this is going to be more of a shootout. Both the Chiefs defense really good. Dolphins defense has been good. But I could definitely see these offenses taking over this game and, creating a shootout, a high scoring game.
Yeah, look, Miami's coming in, obviously blowing a couple game lead to the Buffalo Bills to lose the division, which is why they're playing on the road as the 6 seed. Look, Miami's coming in banged up. They have no Jalen Phillips. They have no Bradley Chubb. Kansas City's weakness on the offensive line are their tackles, and Miami has nobody really to kind of exploit that. Miami, look, we all know Miami's a warm team. They don't play well in big games. They don't play well on the road. They don't play well in the cold, right? Like everything's pointing against Miami this week. Injuries, Jalen Waddle, Raheem Mostert, Xavier Howard all missed the game against the Bills. So they're going to be, obviously, we're going to look, they probably will all play, but just something to look. Jalen Phillips is going to be out. Obviously, Bradley Chubb. Their two starting linebackers, Van Ginkel and Jerome Baker Jr., are both out this week already. They both got injured on Sunday night. Like, Miami's coming in after blowing a lead to Buffalo, obviously in the game, but in the division in the last couple weeks. And then, like, you go to a team like Kansas City, which I don't think is world beaters, right? Like, I'm not going to go sit here and count Patrick Mahomes out from getting to another Super Bowl because I think I would be very stupid to do that. But we know this Chiefs team has struggled, right? Like, Travis Kelsey's age has shown up, right? It's unfortunate.
And he's been banged up this year too.
He's been banged up. He sees more double teams just because Kansas City doesn't have the weapons on the outside. I agree with you, Jared. They need someone to show up outside of Travis Kelsey, and it has been Rashee Rice, who's had a very solid rookie year. But you might even need more in this type of game because if Miami's healthy, their strength all of a sudden becomes their secondary with Xavier Howard and Jalen Ramsey, right? Like, it might not be an easy passing game for Mahomes. I think the winner of this game, because of the weather, because of the cold, is going to have to run the ball. Who runs the ball better? Is it if Mostert comes back with Devin Achane, or is it Isaiah Pacheco, right? Like, I don't know if Miami in this game has the linebackers and the D linemen outside of Christian Wilkins to stop the run against Kansas City.
I was going to say that too. And even when they were healthy, like, the run was their weakness. They got really good pass rushers, but when you just run the ball, they kind of fold. And Pacheco is the perfect running back.
Yes. In the weather, and he's a hard-nosed runner. He's not afraid of contact. And that's gonna hurt. It hurts anyway when you get hit by someone, obviously. But in the cold, when it feels like -5 out there, it's not going to be fun. I just think Miami's probably in the worst spot they've been the whole season. And I don't even think Kansas City's great, right? Like, I'm not going to sit here and say
Yeah.
Kansas City's great. They have a lot of weaknesses. Their tackles aren't great. Their offense has been very inept. Like, Jared, we saw Christmas Day I was like, we're watching together. They lost to the Raiders.
Yep.
Like a Raiders team that's playing for just pride at that point. Like, I don't know how good Kansas City is, but I think Miami's in such a worse spot. So,
and also like with the receivers, not like besides Rice and Kelsey, someone else is gonna have to step up a bit, but also just they can't make stupid mistakes like they have been all year. Like Kadarius Toney can't make stupid mistakes with a missed pass or a fumble or
being
you
offsides.
gotta or being. I was gonna say that, but that's nothing. Yeah, but you can't drop open balls. You can't help out the Dolphins defense. You have to give Mahomes, if he's going to make a play and he gets it to you, like catch the ball. And they've just had stupid mistakes. Like Tony's had a bunch of stupid mistakes this year.
Yeah.
He's just got to just play football and just don't make mistakes, and you'll be a good other option in the offense, and you'll be open most of the time. So just don't make a mistake.
With that being said, Jared, what do we got? Dolphins, Chiefs, Saturday Night Football.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, the Dolphins are really banged up. They can't win in big-time games. And it's the weather, man. And plus, they're away, going into Arrowhead. Plus, Andy Reid and Mahomes on the other side of the ball. I'm going to have to pick the Chiefs here. Based off experience as well, and just I trust Mahomes more than I trust Tua. So I'm going Chiefs here.
I'm going to keep it nice and short. I'm going Chiefs. Basically, everything I just kind of said leading up to this kind of signaled the Chiefs. I just don't know if Miami has it really in them mentally at this point with all the injuries, with the deflating loss to the Bills and Sunday Night Football going into the cold, into Arrowhead. I think it's Kansas City, and I think it's probably, I don't know if by route, but I think Kansas City has a pretty solid victory.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we agree with that one. Sunday, 1:00. The final game. I just realized how they did this. They put all the first 3 games with the first AFC games and the last 3 all NFC. I did not even realize that. Did you? I just realized that. Okay.
I just realized that too, actually.
Interesting. I was like, oh, makes sense. I guess. Okay. 1:00. 7 seed Steelers at the 2 seed Buffalo Bills. At the moment on Tuesday night, the Buffalo Bills are 10-point favorites. Jared, what do we got?
I mean, I think if you're a casual fan, right off the bat, you're kind of already writing the Steelers off. But I think this is a game you can't write them off. I mean, they got here, and this is a game Steelers heavily need to rely on their defense and their running game. Just take as much time of possession as you can. Take it out of Josh Allen's hands. And yeah, you gotta force Josh Allen to make some stupid plays or get him out of the pocket and make him throw a bad throw and get an interception. I think that's the only way they're going to win. It turns in Josh Allen seeing Stephon Diggs like 8 times in the first half for 100 yards. I think it's going downhill for the Steelers. But I would not write the Steelers off this game. Obviously, the Bills haven't, I mean, you could speak on the Bills part. They haven't been, season wasn't what they thought it would be, but they're here. So this is their chance.
Yeah.
And I could let you talk about this Bills.
Yeah, I agree. Look, the season's been up and down. I didn't think this was going to go this way, but somehow they ended up the 2 seed, and they were a 2 seed last year at 13-3. They're a 2 seed this year at 11-6. So it's weird. So now I look, when the Bills were 6-6, I didn't think they had a shot to make the playoffs, let alone win the division and then get the 2 seed. So it's crazy how the NFL works. Look, I agree with you, right? Pittsburgh's going to be missing TJ Watt. And Jared, we have seen over the years when TJ Watt is not on the field, the Steelers are a completely different team. And it's like, that's not trying to be dramatic, but like, I don't have the stats in front of me. Just go Google them, people. And they turn into upper echelon defense to basically a middle of the pack below average defense because TJ Watt is that much of an impact player. And outside of Alex Highsmith, they don't have another guy that can go get the quarterback. And obviously that's their job, right? This is a game that all year the Bills like to play down to their competition, right? We saw it in the Chargers game. We've seen it in the Jets game, which they lost. We've seen it in the Patriots game, which they lost. We've seen it against the Patriots a couple weeks ago, which they won. Like they play down to their competition. That's kind of their MO this year, and they turn the ball over. But then you also see the second half Bills against Miami that look like a team just full steam ahead with momentum. I do think this is a type of game where if the Steelers kind of can get a groove on offense, run the ball a little, force a turnover here or there, they're going to be in this game. And if you look on the flip side, if Buffalo goes up 14-0 on the first two possessions, the game's over.
Yeah.
Like it's like I don't
It
know if
could be over so early, or
Yeah.
it could be a grueling one.
Jared, Pittsburgh has to win a 17-14 game.
Yeah,
If once it gets to the 20s, they're not winning the game.
I agree.
Because the Bills defense has been playing really well. I think the Bills have a ton of momentum, right? 5 in a row they've won, coming back and win the division. 10's a lot of points. So if you're a betting man, 10 is a lot of points.
Especially for a playoff game.
I'm going to be honest here. 10, you could be up 14. Team takes the garbage time touchdown, meant nothing, and you screwed. So in the betting purposes, 10's a lot. In the game purposes, I think the Bills, if what Josh Allen we see is important, but if he kind of just takes what the defense gives him, they don't have elite corners. They have a good safety, and obviously Minkah Fitzpatrick. I think without TJ Watt, the Steelers defense is kind of a shell of themselves, and it's Mason Rudolph, quarterback. Like he's a limitation. We even see against Baltimore's backup. I know it was a rainy game. Pittsburgh scored, I think they scored 16 points in that game, 17 points around that number. I forgot the exact score. And so it just doesn't feel like Pittsburgh has the offense to kind of score, even if the Bills score 24. Like, I don't know if Pittsburgh can get to 27.
I feel like Mason Rudolph, I think he's 3-0 as a starter.
Yeah.
But if he could just play, if they game plan for him and he could play the whole game just fitting that game plan, then he's good. But if, like you said, if Bills go up 14, they got to change the game plan. Okay, we're down by 14. We got to start changing stuff up. He's not going to elevate. Okay. He's kind of just not a system quarterback, just a game manager, like we said.
Yeah, system quarterback, game manager, yeah.
So, I mean, if the Steelers don't have to change the game plan and it's 7-0 Bills first half or something, and they just keep playing the game and they're designed to play, then they have a chance. But like you said, if Josh Allen goes out, Bills go 14-0. I mean, yeah, I think that's game over. So, yeah, we'll see. But Josh Allen just doesn't have to win the game for them. The Bills are a good enough team where he doesn't need to win the game for them. It's not turn the ball over. That should be his main focus.
With that being said, JR, 7-seed Steelers, 2-seed Bills, 1 o'clock on Sunday. What do you got?
I'm going to go Bills here. I think this is the game they're just not going to lose. Yeah, enough said. Bills.
I think this game could be closer if the Bills force it to be closer. Like if the Bills control everything here, if like the Bills play their game, play their style, play what they want to do, they win by double digits, probably going away. But if the Bills kind of mess around a little bit and kind of take the Steelers for granted, not saying take it for granted, but make a couple silly mistakes on offense, which they have. I think
they look ahead and just overpass.
But if the Bills start hot in this game, touchdown, field goal, 2 touchdowns, whatever, right? I think the Bills can run away with this game. So I'm going to go Bills in this one. Okay, before we get to the NFC games, as always, we are sponsored by Underdog Fantasy. Make sure you guys use code TSP for 100% deposit match up to $100. UnderdogFantasy.com, either in the mobile store or on website. Link is in the description. Make sure you guys use code TSP. Okay, NFC time. Let's NFL playoffs. 7-seed Packers at the 2-seed. Oh, we thought the same thing at the same time. 7-seed Packers at the 2-seed Cowboys. This game is at 4:30 on Sunday afternoon. At the moment on Tuesday night, the Cowboys are 7.5-point favorites. Jared, what are we looking for in this game?
Yeah, I mean, this is a game I didn't even think the Packers would be in this situation. I mean, they started 3-6. So props to them for making it. And then the Cowboys are a very tricky team, though. They could lose any game, but they could also win any game. And the big factor for me in this game is that the Cowboys are home. I think they're 8-0. I have it up. Dallas is 8-0 at home this year. So that's huge for them. And then, of course, you got the Mike McCarthy playing the Packers. I think that's a little overrated matchup-wise, but you got that storyline in there. I think the Packers, to me, are just they're not like a flashy team. They get it done, but there's not. I don't when they're going up against a team like the Cowboys, I don't see them, winning the game necessarily. Like Jordan Love going out there and just destroying the Cowboys and winning the game. I think Cowboys try to utilize the run, but it just hasn't been successful so far this year. And Dak's got to step up and just not turn the ball over and not make stupid plays. Yeah. First takeaways for me.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think Green Bay is interesting.
Yeah, they're a very interesting team, right?
They're coming in at 9-8. They have Jordan Love, who's a first-year starter, right? Like, this is a team that most of us, and Jeremy and I, we were doing our early season predictions, like, we didn't have them making the playoffs, right? Like, this wasn't a team. I thought they were a year or two away from sniffing the playoffs. And look, credit to Matt LaFleur, credit to Jordan Love, credit to this roster. So I think the Packers are playing with house money at this point, right? Like, they got nothing to lose. I don't know if they can go into Jerry's world and beat the Cowboys, right? Like, the Cowboys, we've seen two different Cowboys teams this year. We've seen the home team of Cowboys that looks like they can win the Super Bowl. And then we've seen the team on the road that looks like they can lose in the first round of the playoffs. Good thing for the Cowboys, they get the 2 seed and they're home. So in the wild card round, and then if they win, obviously they'll be home in the divisional round. So obviously another storyline potentially next week. I like Dallas. I think Dak Prescott, I think CeeDee Lamb, I think they're both playing at a very high clip. They're running the ball okay with Tony Pollard. I don't know if Green Bay, JR, can make enough plays, right? Like, to win this game. They beat the Bears, who they've owned. Matt LaFleur is 10-0 in his career against the Bears. They won 17-9. It wasn't pretty. It was a little ugly. I like the young weapons on Green Bay. I'm not in love with the weapons on Green Bay. I think Jordan Love has played a very clean game. He's going to have to not turn the ball over, make some off-script plays. I don't know if the Packers have the offensive personnel on the outside to go into Dallas and win this game.
That's what I was gonna say. That's what I was trying to say too. Like, they got good players, but like, let's say Romeo Doubs is good, Christian Watson's good. What's the other the rookie? Forget his name, but the third wide receiver, Jaden Reed, he's good, but like Jordan Love, he's good, but like on the Cowboys side, you got Dak Prescott, he could win you a game. Like CeeDee Lamb, he could go off and win you a game. Like Tony Pollard has the potential of going off. I know Aaron Jones does too, but like no one on the Packers offense just like jumps off the page and is like, okay, like he's really good. You got to make sure you lock him down. But they're just good, you know? So like you said, I just don't think no one on the Packers is going to step up enough to just beat the 2 seed in the playoffs at home, you know? So that's where it kind of gets me.
Yeah. Like, I like Green Bay. I think they're a fun storyline. I think they're a fun team. Like, I don't know if they can go into Dallas and win this game. Like, I really don't. I think Dallas is too good on the outside. I think they're too good defensively. Micah Parsons is a force to be reckoned with. And I think Green Bay is playing with house money. They do become a little dangerous because they know they're playing with house money, right? Like, if they lose, Jerry, you and I won't bat an eye. Packers fans won't be mad. Monday morning.
Successful season.
Successful season. We didn't think we make the playoffs. We might have something in Jordan Love. Matt LaFleur maybe is an actual good coach who's had some ups and downs with Aaron Rodgers and without Aaron Rodgers. So it's a good season for the Packers, right? A lot of pressure on Dallas. So that's when it becomes a little interesting. Like, if this game was in Green Bay, this would be really interesting. It'd be a fascinating game, right? Because Dallas does not play well on the road. It's in Dallas. It's home. They love playing at home.
I said the only chance for the Packers here is we've seen the formula being the Cowboys. You go up early and you run the ball.
Yeah. You make Dak Prescott make some off-script plays.
And then their defense against the run, just if you're up, just run the ball and they'll fold. But if
I agree.
You're down, it's one of the best defenses in the league. So you could get 2 different defenses here.
If you're down to Dallas early, they just pin back, go after the quarterback, and just sit and pick off quarterbacks, right? Like, that's been that's been their MO this year, right? But I agree. If Green Bay can kind of maybe control the clock, make Dak Prescott make some third and longs, kind of go off script, I think Green Bay has a chance to make this an interesting game going into the fourth. And then obviously if it's an interesting game going to the fourth, you never know. One play swings it. So with that being said, Jared, the first NFC game of the weekend, what do we got? Packers or the Cowboys?
Yeah, it's kind of hinting at this. I'm going to go Cowboys here. You know, hope the Packers could keep it close, but my gut's telling me Cowboys.
I agree. 7.5 is a lot for the betting man, so we'll see
Yeah.
Obviously, Jared and I, we do a little pick 'em pool with some of our friends. So obviously, that's later in the week. We'll see what we got. But I like the Cowboys. I think at home, I think there's too much firepower on offense. I don't know if Green Bay can match that stride for stride. So I'm going to go Dallas. Maybe in a closer game than people think, but I
Yeah.
think Dallas.
Could be.
I think Dallas walks away with a victory. Okay, moving on to the final game on Sunday. This is on Sunday Night Football. We got this is a fascinating, obviously, storyline. 6 seed Rams at the 3 seed Lions. Matthew Stafford versus his old team. Jared Goff versus his old team. Right now, the Lions are 3.5, 3-point favorites at the moment. I see 2 different spreads at the moment. So they're in the 3 range at the moment. 3.5 at the moment. It opened up at 4. Jared, what do we like in this game, man?
Yeah, that's kind of like the spread I'd expect.
I agree.
This might be one of the best matchups, best games overall, in this window. But yeah, so you got the Lions. Jared Goff has been playing really well. They got weapons. They got Monra, Laporta. Doubtful, I'd say.
Yeah,
I'd say he's doubtful. I'm going into this thinking he's not going to play. If he plays, changes the game. And then you got like Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery. And Dan Campbell, I think he's going to come out and just try to run the ball at first. And my thing is, I don't think my one takeaway from coaching wise is Lions Dan Campbell is just an aggressive coach, so that could bite them, or it could just win them the game. Like if they're too aggressive and they just don't succeed on the chances, like third and downs, fourth down, not third downs, but fourth downs, or just play calling, like it could hurt them more than it helps. That's one takeaway I have, because you saw, I think it was against the Cowboys. Yeah, he was a little too aggressive and he lost in the game.
Very aggressive.
Ends up, it doesn't really matter whether they're in the playoffs or a 3 seed. But stuff like that, you just can't do. And then you got Stafford, Puka, Cooper Kupp. It's going to be an exciting game. I think these are 2 evenly, like team-wise, I think they're evenly matched. It's going to be fun. And then, you got Matt Stafford playing the Lions. It would suck for the Lions if, they make the playoffs in such a long time and Matt Stafford, their old franchise quarterback, comes in and beats them. But I think this is going to be a really good game.
I'm so excited for this game. I think it's one of the things I think people were hinting at on Sunday when obviously they saw this as a possibility with all the matchups pending. We don't see this a lot. Teams in the playoffs that are favorite usually have the better coach, right? The Lions are favorites at the moment. Sean McVay is obviously a better coach than Dan Campbell. I think Dan Campbell is a solid NFL head coach, but Sean McVay is a Super Bowl winning quarterback, been to 2 Super Bowls, and has taken this Rams team from a team that we thought was probably winning 6 games, 7 games at the max this year, to a team that's won 10 games, that's in the playoffs.
And they're like a very quiet 10 games.
Like, they have a very young defense, right? Like Darian Kendrick, Byron Young, Kobe Turner, all draft picks on this team. Like the Super Bowl winning team from 2 years ago that it had, obviously still have Donald, but that had Leonard Floyd of the world, or Von Millers of the world, Jalen Ramsey. They just nowhere near. They kind of restarted the clock on this roster, especially on defense. And there's a lot of young guys that are trying to make a name for themselves in the league. And sometimes that works and sometimes that doesn't work, depending on who you draft. And credit to the Rams for drafting. Rams, great offense. Puka Nacua, Cooper Kupp, Kyren Williams, and Matthew Stafford. When all 4 of those guys play, they're 6-2. And they're all going to play on Sunday night. So with those 4 guys in, they're hard to beat. On the flip side, Detroit's a fun story, right? Like both teams are really fun stories. Yeah. Detroit, a team that has won a playoff game in over 20 plus years. Like, they have the quarterback. I think Jared Goff is good enough. They can run the ball with Gibbs and Montgomery. Not having potentially Sam Laporta is crushing, because outside of Amon-Ra St. Brown, they don't really have another weapon, right? Like, Jameson Williams hasn't really turned into the guy that I think they expected, or what people expected. They've leaned on Sam Laporta as their second option, who's had one of the best rookie seasons ever from a tight end, maybe the best rookie season ever from a tight end. So if him potentially not playing, this leaves this window open for the Rams. It's a fun game. It's indoors. Both teams are used to playing indoors. I think I don't know. Like Rams have been able. Kyron Williams has been one of the great stories of this year. So
Yeah.
has Puka Nacua. The Rams have a lot of those great stories, but so do the Lions with Sam Laporta, with being the Lions and winning the division, getting the 3 seed. Dan Campbell. Like I think this is maybe not the best game of the weekend, even though I don't think the slate is incredible. Sometimes you don't get that in Wildcard weekend, but I think this is the most fascinating game of the weekend.
What defense do you give the edge to better wise?
Rams.
Rams.
I think the Lions defense is an issue.
Yeah.
I don't know if I trust the Detroit Lions on defense, Jared.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be frank with you, man. Like I don't know. They can't guard anybody in that secondary.
Their D line's
good. They need someone else outside of Aiden Hutchinson to go become a game wrecker. But outside of like in their secondary, Jared, like they are a very suspect team. And the Rams, they got weapons. They got Puka Nacua and they got Cooper Kupp coming at you. Yeah. Both. And Puka Nacua had one of the best rookie receiving years ever, probably the best, because he broke the receptions and the yards record. This is a tough 3-6 matchup for the Lions.
Yeah, and I think, like I said earlier, I think Lions with Laporta being out is going to lean on that running game.
Yeah,
and maybe even like use Jahmyr Gibbs on a lot of packages where he's going to be catching the ball and out in open space like screens and stuff like that. But if the Lions want to win, I mean, we all know Amon-Ra St. Brown's probably going to get 10 catches, 120 yards, but that's not enough for them. They need someone else in the passing game to step up, whether it's Josh Reynolds, Khalif Raymond. But yeah, I think if Rams have the guy to stop the running game with Aaron Donald. So if he could really assert himself and take away that, I think Rams get the edge, but it's just a big if he could do it. And then, if Aiden Hutchinson gets let loose and, he causes a little bit of havoc and other guys got to step up as well. But if he could get maybe like 1.5, 2 sacks, it's going to definitely help the secondary out a lot. So it's gonna be an exciting game.
This is a fascinating game. So with that being said, Jared, 6 seed Rams at the 3 seed Lions on Sunday Night Football. What do we got?
Yeah, this Laporta. I'm flipping like you with the Texans and Browns. I'm flip flopping a little bit here. The Laporta injury is kind of getting at me, but I'm still gonna go Lions here. I think I like that system. I like that team a lot. And I think. They're a 3 seed for a reason. They got here, and they got those 2 backs. I'm going Lions here.
I've been on the Rams. I'm gonna stick with my gut. I like the Rams, and I needed to pick, I guess, a lower seed just because I went Texans over Browns. This is kind of the games that was
5-4. It doesn't.
Yeah, but that's what I was kind of looking at. I like the Rams, right? Like they're 6-2 with Kyron Williams, Matthew Stafford, Cooper Kupp, and Puka Nacua, right? Like they're really good with those 4 guys. I think their defense is a fun, young defense, kind of playing really loose. Rams are 7-1 in their last 8 games, so they're super hot. The Laporta injury puts me off the Lions, right? Like if they had Laporta, I think there's a shot they win this game, or I think they win this game. I don't know if they have enough playmakers on the outside. I feel bad for Detroit because I feel like they finally get to the 3 seed. They finally win the division. They're hosting a playoff game, and they get a really hot Rams team with weapons, with a great coach and a really good quarterback that's playing at a really high clip right now, playing close to his Super Bowl level, winning from 2 years ago. So I like the Rams in this one.
That's fair. All right, we got 2 different games so far.
Fair enough. Okay. Final game of the weekend. And as always, guys, make sure you guys drop a comment, drop a like. What do you got? Who are you looking for in this weekend? Is your team playing? Is your team not playing? Yada, yada, yada. Eagles, Buccaneers. The 5 seed Eagles, which maybe about a month ago we would not think we would have said this. Just how the Eagles played and how their season has flipped. So 5 seed Eagles at the 4 seed Buccaneers. At the moment on Tuesday night. This game's obviously being played Monday night, but this game is a Tuesday night when we're recording this. Obviously, you listen to this on Wednesday. The Eagles are 3-point road favorites. Jared, what are we looking for in this game?
I mean, talk about a team that has like really nothing to lose. I feel like the Bucs. I did not expect the Bucs to be here. Baker's been playing really well. They got Mike Evans, Rashad White. And then just the big storylines in this game is just the injuries. Who's playing, who's not playing for the Eagles, I feel like. Because Jalen Hurts dislocated his finger, A.J. Brown knee. think they're leaning towards playing. And yeah, I think this is a game that if you look back, like you said, a month ago, Eagles are going to dominate this game. Well, you wouldn't even expect them to be a 5 seed, but Eagles are going to dominate this game. And now with the Hurts injury, they're going to have to do it by running the ball, which is not foreign to them. They're known for running the ball. But can Hurts make those big time plays? Because I know Baker can make those big time plays when he needs to. He's got weapon Chris Godwin, Mike Evans. They could go out and make a play. I'm not saying AJ Brown, Devontae Smith can't, but with the injury to Hurts, can he let the ball loose? Is he able to throw the ball like he usually is? That's the big question here. Because if they become one-dimensional, he really just not playing banged up, and they're just relying on the run. I mean, you just send blitz packages and stuff. Just changes the game.
Unlike the Rams who are coming in hot, or the Bills who are coming in,
like the Dolphins,
or they're like the Dolphins, right? Dolphins coming in reeling. Eagles are 1-5 in their last 6 games. The Eagles played the Bucs September 25th in Tampa Bay earlier in the end of September, early in the year. The Eagles won that game 25-11. I think this Eagles team is completely different from what that team. Jerry, you mentioned the key injuries, right? The status of AJ Brown, like the status of Sam Laporta for the Lions, is completely unknown at the moment. I think Devontae Smith plays. Would be utterly shocked if Jalen Hurts plays. I mean, if it doesn't play.
Yeah, I was going to say.
I'm looking on the Eagles defense. This Eagles defense is not the defense that were last year. They flipped through from defensive coordinators who were still on the staff, from who's calling plays, who's not calling plays. They've changed that twice this year. Like they're flip-flopping. Like clearly something's not in sync on that team on the defensive side of the ball. Their secondary is not great. And with what we saw last year, what made the Eagles so great last year, JR, was their pass rush. They were so good at getting after the quarterback last year. This year, they're not as good, and they're starting to expose that secondary. They got a couple injuries at safety. Cindy Brown, one of their starting safeties, is out for the year. This Eagles team is reeling on the other side of the ball, and their offense isn't great either. But their offense has come very ordinary, right? We know exactly what they're going to do. They're going to run the ball, and then when they have to, pass the ball. And Jalen Hurts is not having a great passing year like he did last year. Mm-hmm. On the flip side, Buccaneers, like the Packers, like the Steelers, like not even the Rams, but those type of teams, they're playing with nothing to lose. I know they're home, but the Eagles are the team that won the NFC last year, right? Everything's on the Eagles right now. So Buccaneers have weapons. Rashad White's having one of the best running back years this year. Chris Godwin, Mike Evans, really good receivers. I don't know if the Buccaneers have the personnel on defense.
Yeah, that's the killer.
If this was an Eagles offense that's clicking, this game's a blowout. But the Eagles just lost to the Giants. And I know they only played their starters in the first half, but they were getting boat raced in that first half until they yanked.
I feel like against the run, the Buccaneers aren't that. It's more the secondary, right?
Yeah, I agree. But look, Baker Mayfield, credit to Baker Mayfield. He's playing some really good football right now. Got that extra $1 million last week by making the playoffs. So shout out to him for making $1 million or an additional $1 million. Look, Buccaneers this is a fascinating Buccaneers team. Todd Bowles. I think they have some good weapons. I think they can keep this game close because I think this Eagles secondary is not great, and their offense has been very inconsistent when they can't run the ball efficiently.
Baker's kind of having a year to me. I think he's having like a Fitzpatrick type year, where he comes in, there's really no expectations for the team, and he just takes him to the playoffs, and he's slinging the ball.
He's slinging the ball.
He is, yeah. So if he could continue this and hit up some points against this Eagles team, I think the Eagles are going to have trouble scoring the ball this game. Just because, like you said, they're going to emphasize the run, and we'll see if Jalen Hurts can make those throwing plays, and he just can't turn the ball over. He can't make stupid mistakes. No fumbles. He's got to use his legs this game. So, I mean, this Eagles team definitely should be favored, but it could be a really interesting game, and I think majority of the country's cheering for the Bucs here.
I am as well. One final thing I want to know before we get to our picks and wrap up here. wherever you guys are listening, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. We appreciate it. But one thing I want to finally mention on the Buccaneers, the last 2 weeks offensively, they have not been great. Just to be frank, they're 1-1 in their last 2 games, lost to the Saints and beat the Panthers this past weekend. They scored 13 points against the Saints and 9 points against the Panthers. So I get the Eagles are struggling on one side of the ball. Secondary is not great. They're not really getting after the quarterback, but a Buccaneers offense that has been pretty good this year. I would say
very hot and cold. I'd say
very hot and cold. So last 2 weeks they've been very suspect, scoring a combined 22 points against 2 teams that are not in the playoffs. So maybe they win a low-scoring game. Eagles offense hasn't been great, but if the Eagles offense can figure out to get something going, I think the Eagles probably can win this game. But nothing has shown me the last couple weeks or the last month that the Eagles can win a comfortable game. So we'll see what happens. And with that being said, JR, 5-seed Eagles at the 4-seed Buccaneers, the final game of Wildcard, I guess, a weekend into Monday. What do we got?
Yeah, I don't know. The more we talk about this game, the more I get excited for the Bucs. I'm gonna go to my gut, and I'm gonna pick the Bucs here. I think the headlines Tuesday are just after these playoff games. Everyone's what's up with the Eagles? Who's getting fired? I'm going Bucs here.
I like it, man. Yeah, stay with your gut. Look, it's gonna take a lot for me to pick against the Eagles, right? Like looking at it was at 2.5 the spread up to 3. Like it's hard for me not to take the Eagles in this game. I don't know if the Bucs can have a consistent enough offense in this game. It's not like we're gonna have a weather game because unless it's pouring in Tampa Bay, I didn't look at the weather forecast, but I'm gonna say it's gonna be okay in Tampa Bay, Florida. So we'll see what happens. I think the Eagles can make enough plays. I don't sound really confident in the Eagles. I'm just gonna take their talent on the team with the better quarterback. If AJ Brown plays, probably the better weapons. I'm just gonna take the talent outweighs kind of the Buccaneers. But if you're an Eagles fan, I would not be confident heading into this week, and I definitely would not be confident post this week if you do win, depending on who you play in the.
If I was a betting man, I'd probably take the Eagles too. But yeah, just like betting. But I'm going Bucs.
Okay, fair enough. Make sure you guys comment down below of who you guys got this weekend. If you guys are on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, make sure you guys follow, write a review, leave a 5-star, subscribe on that platform. Obviously, it's not our biggest platform, but if you guys prefer the audio version, you can get that. And I always YouTube, like, comment, and subscribe. And as always, we are sponsored by.
Gosh.
Crap.
I thought I got you that time.
I thought I got you. Okay. We are sponsored by Underdog Fantasy. Make sure you guys use code TSP for 100% deposit match up to $100. Go to underdogfantasy.com or in the mobile app in the App Store. Use code TSP and you guys will get 100% deposit match from $10 to $100. And JR, where can everyone follow us on social media?
We are on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter at Talking Sports PD. Post more content, so follow along, stay up to date with what we're talking about, what we're posting about at Talking Sports PD. And please, like Pete said, please don't forget to subscribe. Trying to get the 5,000 down below.
Or above or somewhere.
It's probably down below.
It is down below on YouTube, yeah.
But yeah, please, really appreciate it if you like the content or if you're just a casual listener. Please subscribe. It doesn't hurt you. But yeah, thank you for watching.
Yeah, it doesn't hurt you, and it only benefits us. Okay, hopefully you guys enjoyed our wild card preview. We are not going anywhere. We'll be back next week in the middle of the week breaking down the divisional round. Hopefully you guys all enjoy this wild card round. Hopefully your team wins or your bet hits or you place an awesome underdog fantasy pick 'em. But hopefully you guys enjoy this episode and hopefully you guys enjoyed wild card weekend. We'll be back next week. So that's going to do it for this episode. He was Jared, I was Peter, and this was the Talking Sports podcast right here on YouTube, Apple Podcast, and Spotify. We'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you.